Hello guys, how are you? Our topic for today is about what will this web development, and of course, this is augmented with your programming stuff. And the core topic is how to combine PHP and Python Flask. So this is a very big question right now. Okay, can we combine PHP and Python Flask? So the answer is this is what you call a huge, and the huge answer is yes. Okay, so what are the requirements right here? Number one is you need to install your XAMPP. Number two, be sure that you have your Python installed in your computer. Number three, of course, we need to install, of course, the Python virtual environment later on. And number four, well, that's the time that we need to activate, of course, the Flask program. Okay, so these are the core, what you call these ingredients to start with our program. Okay, now what's next? So in this program, we will use the PHP as our what front end program. Yes, that's correct. So in our PHP program, we need to create the credentials for username and password. But in this case, we will not, of course, use the SQL, but instead we're creating our own static information right here to be fetched by the Python Plus program. So our backend here is the backend program is the Python Plus. Amo na nga ito nga backend program. Okay, this is the Python Plus program. So from the PHP program, well, of course, this will serve as our front end. At the same time, if we click, of course, the event listener, then of course it will be fetched by your Python Plus program. So this PHP program will run in your what? In your local host, of course. So the default address for that is 8080 or 8000. Correct me if I'm wrong. For the Python Plus, once we activated our scripts, at the same time activate, of course, the Flask, this will run in your what? Local host. And the default address for your port address is 5000. Okay, let us roll here. Okay, the first part of the program is, of course, we need to create our front-end program. This is very simple. We need only to enter, of course, the password. At the same time, we need to enter, of course, the username and the password. And after that, once we click the button, we'll, of course, we call the low codes of the PHP. And, of course, we need to include, of course, the file underscore get underscore contents pane to check the endpoint of the program. Okay, so we start here with that doc type. Okay, HTML. And well, you can use different types of editor. Here I'm using, of course, the Sublime text editor. Okay, and then we have here the HTML. Then, of course, head. Let's make this simple. Title, micro credentials up using PHP and Python Flask. O, para rin sa mga IT. Okay. Next, what's next? Well, of course, we need to close the head. This is very basic. So one of the requirements to create your Python Flask is to understand first how your hypertext markup language work. Body, and then form method equals to post. Okay, you can write your own sub programs right here. Let's say we can call it as validate.php, but in this case I won't using that anymore because I want to integrate, of course, the PHP program rather in this code. Okay, so let's start first with our first program. First input for label 4 username. So we have here label 4 equals to username, and then we have here username label. Next is we have to make sure that we can input, of course, the text right here, and then we will infuse, of course, the variable or the ID number. That is what username, and then the variable is name equals to username. Okay, now it's about time that we need to copy this thing. Okay, this is to save our time. Okay, so we need to copy this from in the next line. So label 4, then we have your password. And then we have here first password as part of our text. Then we will use the ID number, same thing. Let us synchronize everything. Then we type here, of course, the password. Be sure that your spelling is correct because grammar is very important. Okay. What's next? Well, we need now to fuse the button as part of our listener. Type equals to, this is the attribute. And then we will, button type equals to what? I'm sorry, submit. And then the label is submit, type button. And we will end our form. Sorry. Okay, now it's about time that we now infuse, of course, the PHP, right? How to use the PHP? Well, we can use the PHP here. And then, sorry about that, this is automated. Okay. After that, we will use the if string server. Okay, this is part of your global, what you could, this commands for the PHP. And we will use, of course, the request method. And then we will, of course, compare it to our post, string post. Okay. After that, what will happen? Well, of course, this is how we check, of course, the request at the top of our program. So we are no longer using, of course, the auxiliary file here for the PHP, but again, we include the PHP right here directly to the program. Okay. All right. So what's next? Okay. Next is, well, of course, we can now again create the variable right here, username. The purpose of this is to create a mirror file, or mirror statement, or mirror variable, string post. Okay. So this is to check, of course, the variable from your HTML program, which is what user. That is the username. So this is to fetch information at the top. Username. This is the username. This is how you declare the variable username. Okay. After that, what will happen? So we've validated it first. At the same time, we again create another variable here. This is an auxiliary variable for the data to be fetched by the program from the PHP. So we need to change this to password. And then we have your password. Okay. This is quite easy. Okay. What's next? Now, this is quite very important. Okay. I will be using another statement right here, using, of course, another variable. But this time, again, we'll be using the file underscore get contents. Okay. We'll explain that. So, again, here, I will use, of course, response. This is the catalyst of everything. So, here, I have here file underscore, okay, get contents. Okay, in my previous tutorial, I have this with explainer. So the purpose of this file get contents is to display, of course, the address, or of course the local path of that file. Okay, for example, here I can use, of course, that address here, HTTP. This is the endpoint of the target address that I would like to display, localhost. So that localhost would be what? Let's say I have here the port address, okay, for the Flask, and I will use the validate. The validate here is just like, the default endpoint of the Flask address. Okay. Later on, we will create a Flask program, and then we have here the username equals to, and then what's next? So what's the purpose of this username? Username is just like you're fetching the information coming from the you're sending the information from the PHP, and at the same time going to your what? Going to your Flask program. Okay. So this is how we concatenate it. Okay, we'll concatenate it right here. I'll put a period. Okay, concatenation, and then at the same time, of course, we will use the URL len code. Now let's explain what is URL len code. This is how you create the concatenations of your data. For example, if you print, of course, for example, I will have an explanation right here. If you have here the statement of the hello word, okay, this hello word will be concatenated into two. This will become hello plus word. So that's the purpose of this URL code. Okay, I hope that helps you. Okay. Now, next part is I will now include, of course, that variable here. That is the username, string username. Okay. And then at the same time, we have here, of course, the concatenation to concatenate another variable here. Okay, this is now the end. Okay. Password. Okay. So we have the end password right here equals to, and then we will again concatenate it using the URLn code. Okay, URLn code. Okay, URLn code, and we put here string what? String password. Okay, so be sure that the grammar is correct. All right, that's it. So we have it here. All right, so that's it. So this is the catalyst of fetching the information and of course sending it to the local host of 5,000, which is your Flask. Later on, we'll put it here. Now after that, after we put it here, of course we need to echo, of course, the string what? Response. Okay, and the last part is, of course, we need to save the program. And before that, okay, let us close first, of course, the close brace, forced close, and then we have to close the PHP program, and then put, of course, here slash body, and then slash what? Stem. Okay, let us save the program. Save as. Of course, I will save this to my xampp directory. I'll go to my xampp directory. Where's that? Let us check here. So go to docs, and I will save this as what? Valid 1 point, or valid 1 only. This is the file name. Okay. Okay, let us test our program. But before that, let us rectify our code right here. And let us check if there are some syntax that is not correct. So, okay, like for this one, we need to delete this one. And at the same time, we will provide here, of course, okay, let us bring the cursor to the next line. BR. Okay, then we have here BR. Okay, let us save this again. Now, save, and let us run it here. Let us type, of course, that endpoint. So the endpoint is, well, of course, we have the local host. And then we will type, of course, the address, of course, the file name. The file name is valid1.php. There you have it. So we have the username and password. So this is the front end. This is created in our PHP program. Once we submit it, automatically, well, what will happen? So let us check again the code right here. So the code is if we run the program, automatically, will, of course, once we run the program, this will be what you call this managed by this statement, request method equals to post. So we created our two variables right here. This will serve as auxiliary variable wherein the mirror file na siya. And then we create another variable to get the contents of the localhost coming from our what? From our Flask program. So again, the next part is to create our Flask program. Okay. Now before we create our Flask program, let us proceed first to our CMD. Okay. I have already activated here, of course, one of my program. Okay. So this is your CMD. I will create a new project. Okay. Let's say the project is MD, let's say prod 4. Okay. The next part is we need to change our directory to go to project 4. Okay, this is our project 4 right now. And the next part is, of course, please listen. So we have already our PHP program, and of course we have it in our localhost. So this time we need to activate the virtual environment of Python. Pero dapat naka-install ka na sa imong Python. And at the same time, you have to install also your virtual environment. Please check my previous tutorial. Okay? So how to install how to activate, of course, or how to install the virtual environment or create the environment right here. We need to type Python and then /m virtual environment viv, and of course the name of your folder right here. Okay, so let us create a folder here. Let's say I will create a folder of Arnold 5. Okay, let's wait for the Python program to respond. And be sure that your Python is updated so that you can run your program. Again, we have, of course, the Python as our backend program and PHP as our front-end program. So this is our backend, our front-end program. Okay. Now let us check it right here. Now, once you have read the virtual environment, let us check if you have the virtual environment right here. So we have here, of course, Arnold 5. And if we change directory to Arnold 5, wala ka makita dira. This is void. Okay. Wala ka makita except for the include folder, library folder. Of course, we have the scripts right here. Let us go back to the main folder. So change folder, and then we need to what you call this. We need to activate now the virtual environment. How to activate the virtual environment? All you have to do is to type Arnold 5, and then of course we have scripts, and then scripts, and then type activate. So here you have it. So we have it here, but we don't have yet the file. Therefore, we need to create a file for the Python Flask. If you want to deactivate this virtual environment, we have to type the statement deactivate. Okay, that's it. All right. We will return in this turf after we created our program in Flask. Okay, let us proceed to our Flask program. File new, go back to your editor, and then go to view, and then same time we need to change for the syntax for the Python. Okay, click Python. That's it. Now let us start with our program here, and be sure that you have the following modules that installed in your Python laptop. And what are these modules? Okay, so these modules are extremely important so that you can run your Python request. Okay, now these are the modules. We have to use the Flask, and we have to install, of course, the request. If you want to install this, of course, you go to your Python in your shell I or cmd command, and then pip install request, and then press the enter key. Okay, that's it. Now let us start right here. So we will create a program here using, of course, the Python Flask. Okay, from Flask. Okay, be sure that the spelling is correct. Import what? Import Flask. Okay, that is capital letter. And then we have to use what? Request. So the purpose of request is just to get the information coming from the endpoint. The endpoint is the address, the server, the path of your program. What's next? So we create a program here, a variable for the Flask, and then Flask, then underscore name, and then that's it. And then we'll create, of course, a root. The root is the endpoint of your Flask folder. Then we use the method for the root, and then the name for the root is, let's say we need to put the validate. So this validate is just like we're fetching the information right here. Okay, this is where we use the information for validate, fetch the username, and force concatenate it into two, username and password. Okay, got it. After that, what will happen? So let us now define, of course, the function here. So def validate, then we have here the colon. Okay, next is the same thing. Username equals to, okay, and then request args get. What does it mean? What's the purpose of this statement? So this is like you are creating a parameter for that, fetching informations coming from your PHP program, and then whatever you type that in PHP program, it will be fetched right here and display, of course, the name or the username. Can you get me? Same thing with password equals to request argument and then get. Okay, we can display, of course, the password, and then the password will be validated later on. So this is assigned to your username and password. Okay, all right. So what's next? And at the same time, it's about time that we can create now, of course, our program here to validate the credentials from the PHP. And these credentials are username and password. If username, okay, equals to, let's say, static username, that is admin, okay, and and password, okay, is equals to, you can assign any password right here. Let's say that is password. Okay, what will happen is, of course, we need to create an indentation for that and return what? Say we can use return and h1, and then we can apply correct. Yes, you can embed, of course, the HTML right here. Okay, then you put the semicolon, sorry, else. Make sure that it is paired with your if statement. Return what? Okay, h1, Okay, h1 and we say error. Okay, close it with your h1. It's part of pairing. Okay, and it's about time that we run the main program. If name equals to main, that is the main program, and then that's the time that we need to run the up.run. Okay, that's it. So this is how we run the program, and once we activate, of course, the program in a virtual environment in Python, then it will proceed and move immediately to your localhost and sending it to your port address that is 5000. Let us check this program. From Flask, we import, of course, the Flask and request. These are your modules. At the same time, we create our route. Route are just like your endpoint, wherein we created our own what you call this endpoint. This is part of the address. So we define now the address right, the functions right here, and requested, of course, the information coming from that front-end program. And at the same time, if that parameters is correct, automatically will, of course, we display the correct informations coming from the credentials. Otherwise, well, it will display an error, what you call this message. And after that, we run the program again and run it using our Python IP address, plus IP address, and of course the port address of 5000. Okay, let us save this one. Save as. Where to save? Okay. So we'll save this in the drive C in my program, and I will look for that program right here that is kick, and then project 4. And I have here, of course, the environment for that program before. I will type his as up. Okay, that is the default name of my program, the app. Let us check it again right here. Okay, directory, we have here the app. Okay, now let us activate that again. How to activate, of course, your virtual environment? You type, of course, your Arnold 5 here. Okay, this is where we adhere, of course, the policy of Python, and of course getting the information coming from your scripts there. And we need to write the scripts. At the same time, we need to activate it. Once you activated it, of course, we have the virtual environment running. And that's the time that we need to run the Python program. Python, same time, this is our backend. Python, what? Up.p. Let us check. So we have an error right here, no? I think there is no module name Flask found. So let us check it out. What happened? Oh, of course, I forgot to install the Flask. So we need to pip install what? Flask. Okay, I'm sorry. That's the next procedure. Let us wait for the Python to install it. Okay, we have the Flask right here. Okay, aran na siya. At the same time, first let us run the program Python, and then run the program up.p. Let us check what will happen. Now, it's running now in your local server 127.0.0.1. That's 5000. That's the default port address of your Python program. So, anong next natin nga move? Okay, let's go back right here in our valid1.php. This is running in 8000, 8080, something like that. Let us click this one, and then let us insert a password. So once we enter the password right here, what will happen is, of course, it will be checked by the by the Flask program right here. Okay, if you the Flask program will, of course, fetch the information from that as part of the parameter that says your name, part of the variable from your HTML and PHP. And then once we validate it, of course, your name will, of course, check if the information is correct. If you enter it correctly, if it is admin or password. Okay, let us go back right here. Okay, I'll enter here admin. I will enter here password. Be sure that your program is running correctly. Okay, submit. Okay, warning, file get contents. Okay, we have an error. Let us debug this first. Okay, the error is right here, and it seems that, of course, the statement is quite correct. And I think for me, there's no problem. Okay, let us check first, of course, the cmd command. All right, let us first deactivate this. And maybe we need to rerun our program, deactivate. Okay, that's it. So we have deactivated, of course, the Python virtual environment. Let's go back to our program and fix this one. Okay, I will change this to input type text level 4 password. So I will change this to password. Okay. Okay. So this is the password, and this will be encrypted. And this one, well, I don't need to modify it anymore because this is correct. Okay, so I will save this again. Okay, what will happen is, of course, we go to up, and then we have here the following statement. Okay, if username equals to admin coming from the front-end program, this will be validated. If it is correct, then this will display this correct. Embedding, of course, the hypertext markup language in our Python Flask program. Let us go back right here. So again, we will activate this. How to activate this? Let us type for the folder Arnold 5 and then scripts. Oops, sorry. Let us again repeat the statement. Arrow up and then type what? Activate. Now let us run the program again. I think there was a problem before because we were not able to update our virtual environment. So let us run the Python again here. Python and then up.p. Okay. So this is now running in your local host, that is 127.0.0.1 under 5000 port address. Let us go right here at the top. So I will type local host, or you can use the endpoint at HTTP. Then type local host, and then type force valid 1.php. There you have it. So, well, later you can add ornamented style in this program. But for now, the method of the program is forced to explain to you that, well, of course, this is admissible that we can use the PHP program as our front-end program. Now, later on, you can also create your own database to fetch your information. At the same time, now this is to create your data structure, of course. And when you fetch the information, you can use the application for your Python Flask to make this as your backend program. Okay, so let us run the program right here. I will now enter, of course, that admin. Putangan natin admin and then password. Let us check. If I click the submit button, what will happen? All right. Again, we go back to our program here. So we have two programs right here. This is our front-end program. At the same time, we infuse, of course, two data that will be entered as part of our credentials. So we created our own, what you call this, low code for PHP. But again, later on, you can create your own PHP file here and then separate this file from your HTML program. But in my case, I don't want to do that anymore. I wanted to continue the code inside the PHP program. So I'm using, of course, the global array, what you call these functions of the PHP. And I have, of course, the request underscore method as part of, I think, functions. And we have here the three equal sign. It's part of creating the veracity of the statement, if it is fetch or not. And after that, this is the catalyst, of course, the file get content page. This is the endpoint we're in. We need to, what you call this, to check, of course, the port address of the Python program to display and to validate, of course, the credentials entered in this area. Okay. So from here, if we click the button, okay, this will go right here using this endpoint address. And of course, we have the validate. What's that validate? Of course, the validate is right here, no? This is, of course, the path, or maybe we call it the local address of the Python program, where we, of course, validate the password and the username. Now, let us run this code. If I click submit, automatically, of course, this will be fetched by the Python program, and it will display correct. If I enter a wrong password and wrong username, something like that, Arnold, this will give you one error message. So there you have it. So we have two programs here. We have a program for PHP. You save this in your xampp htdocs folder. At the same time, you save this in your local folder also. So you have to do this to go in your what you call this, in your CLI, and then you create your folder, and then you have to do this to follow the procedure. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.